Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. This week we have seen a government that talks about growth but has proved itself unwilling to support transformational investment at the AstraZeneca plant in Liverpool. At the same time, it appears keen to expand the sums being paid in relation to the Chagos Islands to a number some 250 times larger than that being considered for AstraZeneca. And I wonder how many people, I can see on the opposite bench the degree of shame and embarrassment about that, and the concern that they have that local investment in important cities in this country is being deprived as a result. In business questions, Mr. Speaker, on November the 28th, I raised the issue of the assisted dying bill and highlighted a host of procedural defects in the way in which it was being rushed through the House by the government. The bill was published barely 2 weeks before the vote at second reading, as the House will recall. No impact assessment or legal issues analysis had been published. The promoter of the bill had circulated a document purporting to answer questions which actually left a host of important questions entirely untouched. Those questions included the impact of the bill on the medical profession and the relationship between medical staff and patients, and on the provision and regulation of the different drugs and drug cocktails required. They included questions about the involvement of the judiciary in the process and the balance of probabilities test for coercion which the bill proposed. It was not surprising that the bill was and is being opposed by the Health and Justice Secretaries, with the former saying, "I do not think that palliative care, end-of-life care in this country, is in a condition yet where we are giving people the freedom to choose without being coerced by the lack of support available." I'm sorry to say, Mr. Speaker, that the Leader of the House responded to my remarks in a very patronising way, suggesting that it was somehow inappropriate and political for me to raise these matters at all. Of course, that was nonsense. I was not taking and do not take a position on the underlying issue, and the whole purpose of business questions is to highlight and debate the passage of legislation through this House. But the Leader's defensiveness was itself revealing. It showed the extent to which the government is quietly and wrongly standing behind this private member's bill. Now, Mr. Speaker, if we fast forward 2 months, what do we find? A Supreme Court Justice has told the Bill Committee that it is not clear what the judge's role is supposed to be in this legislation, has called the judicial protection largely illusory, and echoed many other legal experts in highlighting the lack of capacity in the High Court. The government's own chief medical officer has specifically warned the Bill Committee that the NHS should not be rushed into becoming what would amount to a death service, and said that most doctors would not wish to take part in the final stages of an assisting dying process, and emphasised the medical vagueness of the idea of qualifying people as terminally ill. And we've heard about the serious potential misdiagnosis through the horrendous case of Peter Sefton Williams, who was incorrectly diagnosed with motor neurone disease and given as little as 6 months to live. Mr. Speaker, these are not my words. They are testimony on the bill from leading experts across a range of fields. But all this has been made much worse by the rushed and secretive way in which the Bill Committee itself has been handled. The membership is disproportionately weighted towards supporters of the bill. The schedule has been highly congested, with back-to-back sittings that do not allow MPs to prepare. Some of the sessions have been held in private. Attempts have been made to prevent key institutions such as the Royal College of Psychiatrists from appearing in front of the committee at all. The effect of all these measures is to impede and inhibit external and internal scrutiny. And we now hear that the impact assessment will now not be published before the report stage of the bill. All these things are shocking attempts to undermine and short-circuit the proper scrutiny of the legislation. The Leader of the House has said in terms that the government is not supporting the legislation. She should therefore have an undiluted interest in ensuring that such an important and controversial bill is properly handled. After all, she, more than any other, is supposed to be the custodian of proper parliamentary scrutiny of legislation. So will she now act to address these obvious failures, or will she stick to her position that everything is fine and there is nothing to see here?